Greetings, mortals, and welcome to another Tabletop Sandbox stream. Tonight we are going to be doing some more solo Cairn. If you are here with us to watch, you are welcome. If you are not here, you're welcome anyway, though you probably won't be aware that you're welcome because you're not here. But anyway, we have achieved a major milestone in our subscribers. If you are a practicer of certain religions, which is 666 subscribers. Personally, not a huge milestone for me, but you know, some of you out there might be happy about it. Not totally sure. But tonight we are going to, oh, hello, Zach. Hello, Neutromancer. Welcome. I'm about to pull up the chat on my phone so I don't have to look over at that monitor, because I won't, if that's what I have to do. I have to go to my other account. I think I do. Oh, maybe not. Perfect. Okay. Hello and welcome. Yes, tonight we are diving back into what might be a fairly climactic session of solo Cairn. So, let's do a quick recap of where we are and what has happened in the journey of Boroth Malksmilk, which that's a good reminder to myself. I should pull out his character sheet. Yes. So, Boroth has trekked across water and land and finally come to the town of Devil's Dinner. And why has he come all this way? Well, he is searching for... Ooh, solo gaming is tight. Absolutely it is. I'm going to interrupt myself to answer chat whenever I see it. So if you feel like chiming in, absolutely do that. Boroth has come all this way searching for a piece of missing contraband. A very valuable piece of missing contraband that was supposed to be delivered to him in the town of Applebridge, but failed to come. And thus, the people that Boroth was supposed to deliver this piece of contraband to, they... what's their name? It's bad of me not to remember. Notes. The Cormick family is who Boroth was intending to deliver this package to, except it never arrived. Maybe I did. Alright, let me take a look at OBS, see if it's coming through there. Nope, no. Oh, there it is. I had it. Did I mute it? Nope, that's not it. Check. Testing. Was it a loose cable? Okay, perfect. I hope I didn't just blow out your eardrums with that wrong accidental audio. Yeah, I think the cable in my mic just slipped. I was whacking it. All right. Gotcha. Okay, and we're good now? Just let me know if it gets bad again. Maybe I should loop that around the arm. Problem for another time. I will just not whack my hands into it, hopefully. Where was I? Where was Boroth? Boroth, rather than playing this paying this blood debt to the Cormacs, decided to go out, flee the city, and go after his missing piece of contraband that was eventually determined to be a demon kidney. Thanks to viewer Kidney Thief. But Boroth is not aware that that is what this piece of contraband is. He just knows that he needs to get it. And so he goes to a place after a few adventures at the Hidden Lake involving the Mind Whale. He went to Broken Dagger, where he met with his contact Aline, and she said, yeah, the ferryman who usually takes it across Hidden Lake never showed up, maybe due to the Mind Whale. And that would have been all fine and dandy, except that she had to flee and was hiding after fleeing down a secret tunnel when she met with Boroth, and because there was a group called the Dragonflies who are riding in on undead giant dragonflies and they stole that piece of contraband because it turns out someone else wanted it too. Someone else wanted this demon kidney, and who was that someone? Well, that would be the Doomed Knave. And we don't know much about the Doomed Knave, but we learned a little bit. We learned that he's up to some bad stuff. And then in the last session, Boroth tracked these dragonflies to Devil's Dinner, and he did some asking around. And he didn't get much information. He heard the name, the Doomed Knave, and he ran into a couple of the dragonflies at Regret's Reach Tavern, but he wasn't really able to get much information. In fact, he walked right into an ambush, almost, where they kind of cornered him and asked him what exactly his deal was, because Boroth, not that stealthy. Or at least he wasn't rolling very well. No, he's not that stealthy. He has a dex of 7. He's not good. But they asked him what he wanted, and he was like, where's this Doomed Knave fellow? I need to talk to him. He has something of mine. And they kind of laughed about it and told him, well, you can find him where he always is, at the ruined church at the center of town. But something else that we developed that Boroth does not necessarily know about is Ivena, who is the leader of the Dragonflies, is actually serving the Doomed Knave against her will. We determined that she was bound to this church, this ruined church, and the Doomed Knave, if not responsible for its ruination, has kind of come in and taken over, and there is something that the Doomed Knave is using to control Ivena, and she is kind of forced to serve, and she is reluctant. While the rest of the dragonflies, we learned, are not so great, and maybe are trying to convince people to come to this culty area and lie to them and get them to sacrifice themselves or something along those lines. It's a very, typical kind of culty scenario. I'm not sure exactly what the Doomed Knave is going to use this demon kidney for, but I know it's going to involve cleansing or filtering blood, because that's what kidneys are for. So, as we kind of jump into this, well, Boroth is a cautious sort, and so I think that he is going to try and be as prepared as possible. He's going to get out his spellbook of Gate and know that if things go really badly, he can use that to escape. He has his dagger, which is his only sword. He's wearing his armor. He's going to take his shield. I think he's going to... I don't know, he might just consume his ration for the day, because that'll lower his load, so I no longer have to... So he'll have 2 free load just in case there's something that gives him a fatigue or he needs to pick something up. So he only has 3 rations left, or he'll just drop it off. Either way. But yeah, he's gonna do some surveying of this ruined church to see if he can gain any more information about it before he just walks in the front door. And so I think that first of all, we're gonna see if he can do it unseen, and I'm going to roll a dex save for him. 6. That is a success. Awesome. And now what we are going to do is we're going to see if there is anything for him to discover. I think that the first floor would be mainly kind of the sanctuary of this ruined church, where there are the pews and the pedestal where the preacher would have given his sermons. But I think now it's probably a common house. There are holes in the ceiling, there's shattered stained glass, and it is kind of a burned out. The only thing that stands tall is kind of the blackened spire with the symbol of some god. So I'm gonna roll and see how many of the dragonflies are hanging out here. And I'm gonna roll a d6. That would be a 6. There are 6 dragonflies hanging out in the sanctuary. That's not a good situation for him to approach. And I imagine that it probably includes the 2 that he ran into before, who are named Josatel and Aldone. Josatel being this unseemly recluse who spoke, I think, only 2 terse words to Boroth when he had tried to learn some information about the dragonflies to him, and Aldone, who is a glum missionary whose goals are to convey magic, establish faith, and refine lies. So I think that it's his job to convince people that there is magic and establish the faith of people in his secret kind of cult. And not that it may really matter, but I think that Boroth is, well, he's going to attempt to wait it out. And I'm gonna roll a willpower save for him to see if he can gain any other beneficial information by observing. Nope. That's a 19. So he sees moving in and out through the windows as he kind of takes his way around it and is hiding and peering out from alleyways, that there are 6 dragonflies within, but other than that, he's not able to gain any more information. Let's roll a fortune roll. I think that it is very unlikely. Let's see, does the chaos factor go up or down after the last scene? I think it was pretty in control, so I think we're gonna go back to a 50-50. So we're at chaos rank 5, which means that a 50-50 is actually going to be a true 50-50 when I roll for it. However, I think it is very unlikely that any of these dragonflies are going to skedaddle, because, oh, maybe they could go deeper. I think that that's more like, well, let's see if any of them leave first. Let's ask that question first. So this is going to be very unlikely, which makes it a 25% chance that any of them leave. That is an 8. That's a yes. So some of them leave. I'm going to roll a d4, because it wouldn't be fair to have all of them leave. That wouldn't make any sense. Because the Doomed Knave knows that Boroth has been asking around, he's heard about this, and he has kind of, and also then Josatel and Aldone have probably informed the rest of them that Boroth, this strange guy in dirty clothes with a booming voice, was asking questions about the Doomed Knave. So not all of them are going to leave, but I'm going to roll a d4 to see how many leave. 3. Okay, so half of them leave. And I think they leave. I'm not sure what they're doing, but they probably have some important work to do. Maybe they're fetching something. I'm gonna say that they leave to fetch some supplies for the ritual that must commence within 3 or 4 days from now. because that's the timeline on the kidney. So 3 of them leave. Let's see if any of them, they all stay up top, or some of them go beneath. I'm going to say that this one is unlikely, so that's a 35% chance. 57? No. All 3 of them are up there. So Boroth, geared up with his shield and his armor, and all he has is a dagger. And let me pull out the Cairn rulebook and make sure I'm looking at the correct damage for a dagger. D6. Okay, D6 damage for a dagger. I think Boroth, because his stealth is not his strong suit, he has tried and failed to stealth many a time before. But let's see how the direct approach works. Boroth is going to, well, he's going to see how close he can get quietly. So I will roll a dex save for him to determine that. 1! Natural 1! That's good in Cairn. So, I'm going to say that he kind of... The first that these dragonflies have any inkling of him is when his silhouette fills the doorway. And in a booming voice, he says, "I've come to see the knave. Will you arrest me in my journey, or will you let me pass?" And they all kind of jump up, and some of them grab their swords. One of them grabs a crossbow, but they weren't necessarily ready for this, so I'm gonna say it's not cranked. So Boroth has a little bit of time to react if things go down. But he kind of stands there, kind of holding the dagger up against the inside of his forearm, shield in front of him, but just kind of casually there. Not inviting a fight, but ready for one. And he looks over all of them. I'm gonna roll a fate on the fate chart to determine, are Josetel and Aldone 2 of these 3? That's what I'm curious about. I'm gonna say it's a 50-50 shot. 68? No. They are not here. So these are rando dragonflies. Because I've decided that Evenna is going to be somewhere deeper. She's like a more challenge than these basic dragonflies. So she's gonna be deeper in this dungeon, as it were. So he confronts them. Let's see. I'm gonna roll a willpower save to see if he can intimidate them with his regal bearing and booming voice. That's a 5. He succeeds. But I'm wondering, is it a complete success where they all flee or stand aside? I think that's unlikely, but I'm gonna roll on the chart, and I just determined the likelihood. It's unlikely, but is it very unlikely? Yes, I'm gonna say it's very unlikely. That's a 51. Yeah, no. So I think one of the dragonflies, they kind of look at him and they're not really willing to fight. Or they don't want to fight, at the very least. He has intimidated them. Do they have orders to waylay him? To test his mettle from the Doomed Knave? I think that there's a 50-50 shot of that. And they might have to stay, but Boroth will have an advantage because he's intimidated them. 56? No! The Doomed Knave has not commanded them to waylay him. But I think he walks in, steps in the door, kind of stares down these 3 dragonflies, and asks them that question. Are you going to arrest my progress, or may I continue on my journey? And they kind of look at him and size him up, and they say, all right. You can continue on down. And Boroth is kind of like, oh, down. I wasn't aware there was a down in his inner monologue. But then he just nods and kind of looks to where they gestured. And there is kind of behind the pulpit, or where the pulpit would be, there's an open door and it leads down a staircase. And Boroth kind of walks past, never lowering his guard, looking at these dragonflies, eyeing that crossbow. And then he steps through that doorway and out of sight, and begins a slow descent down these stairs. And now he knows that it is a bad idea to let these people potentially come in behind him. And so I think what he is going to do, kind of pats the spellbook of gate where he has it tucked, maybe even within his armor for quick access. No, probably not within his armor, but in kind of a bag strapped under his side, I think. Like a satchel that's cinched pretty tight under one arm, where he has his shield up over it. But he can reach in and pull that out and cast this spell if he needs to escape at a moment's notice, or a couple moments' notice. But he kind of heads down this staircase, and the light of day outside, or perhaps afternoon, begins to fade away as he steps down these creaky stairs and arrives at a stone or cobblestone floor. And is there... let's see. I want to go into Perilous Wilds, and if it doesn't get too boring or take too long, I want to do some random dungeon generation, because that is a really fun thing that I like to use Perilous Wilds for. Usually I use it in prep, not on the fly, but let's see what we can do with this. Let's see. Well, let's roll a couple d12s, and we're gonna generate a dressing, which would be tracks or marks. Ooh, that's interesting. Okay, so I think as Boroth goes down, let's see. I'm gonna write level 1, because the upstairs isn't really part of the dungeon, right? But I'm gonna write level 1, and I'm gonna make a note, stairway down, and I'm going to say that there are claw marks on the walls, because I generated in Perilous Wilds tracks/marks. So I think that there are claw marks on the wall from some kind of creature. Let's generate a feature as well. That's cocked. A 9. An altar, dais, or platform. So I think as he gets down, he steps into a room. Is there a door that he can close behind him and potentially jam or lock? I'm gonna say there's a 50-50 shot. 40, yes. So he steps in through this door, and he is greeted immediately. He's keeping his wits about him now before he's worrying about jamming the door, and he is greeted by the sight of an altar. This is interesting. And now let's see, is there... I think there's got to be a danger in here too. So what is that danger? Well, it is a creature, and what are they doing? They are sleeping. That's interesting. Okay, perhaps it's a guardian creature of sorts. It is this creature with claws, and it is nocturnal. So it is currently sleeping. And so let's determine what that creature is. We can randomly generate that, also using Perilous Wilds, using their creature table. Let's see, what type of creature is it? We know it has claws, so we'll go off that. But it is going to be... Oh, interesting. A human? Well, that doesn't quite work. So I'm gonna roll and try and get humanoid, beast, or monster. 2, that's a beast. So it is a beast of some sort. It is an earthbound beast, and it is going to be a termite, tick, or louse. Well, that's interesting. Okay, this makes a lot of sense, actually. I think it's an undead insect of some kind. Maybe not a termite, tick, or louse, but maybe not quite a real insect. Like, a giant dragonfly isn't quite a real insect, but this is going to be like a giant insect with these kind of pincers that are actually, it wasn't actually claws, it was pincer marks. It is, so I'm going to make the next room the altar room. And within it, there is a giant insect that is sleeping. And I think Boroth stops suddenly as he sees this creature immobile in front of them. He almost thought it was something inanimate, because it truly does not move within its exoskeleton when it is sleeping. And he looks at that and he wonders, okay, what do I do here? Well, this is a big creature. I mean, probably the size of like a big dog, like a Great Dane, except it would be a little bit lower to the ground and a little bit longer than a Great Dane. I think he's going to attempt to sneak past this into the door that he can see on the other side. Let's see if we can learn a little bit more about that altar in here, or if it's just kind of a remnant of the church before. I'm gonna roll a find in Perilous Wilds. And so on that altar, roll twice. Oh, this might be good. There is supplies and trade goods, and coins, gems, and jewelry. Okay, well, that's tempting. But Boroth is not great at stealth in the first place. So is he really going to try and sneak up within the room where this giant ant is, this giant insect? I'm imagining it as kind of ant-like, with the mandibles. Is he gonna try and, I don't know what the supplies or trade goods would be. But, we'll say there's a crate of some sort. But there are coins, gems, and jewelry. Maybe a small pile, or ooh, maybe that there is like a fine pendant that has been laid as an offering on this altar. But I imagine this altar is twisted from its normal state. So I think that how smart is Boroth? I'm gonna roll a willpower save for him. See if he's stupid enough to do this. We're looking at a 10 or lower. Nope, that's an 18, so he is going to try and steal this pendant. Make himself a pretty penny. Because he's down to his last gold piece. So, let's see how his dexterity save goes, trying not to wake this creature up. That's a 2! He succeeds! Excellent. I'm not gonna make him roll twice. So he sneaks up. There's a sleeping giant insect in the corner, and he manages to lift ever so carefully this pendant, kind of slip it into the bag, a side pocket next to the book, and then he steals away towards the next door. And I think the people upstairs were probably waiting to hear the sounds of him fighting this beast, but he managed to avoid it. And when he gets through this next door, let's see what he finds. Let's roll some more random generation. For addressing, we get an oddity. Interesting. Let's go to page 50 to generate that. What is the oddity that he finds? 1. A weird color, smell, or sound. I'm all in favor of a weird sound. Let's see. Are those people that that the Doomed Knave sent out, are they fetching just the last possible things necessary for the ritual to make it perfect? Like the right color red of candles or something like that, and it's happening tonight? And I'm thinking that the sound that may be heard is chanting as the ritual is beginning, even as Boroth goes down here. Because I think that that would be extra dramatic, I'm gonna say that that's likely. So we got a 75% chance. Yep, 49. So the ritual is happening tonight. So I think that Boroth hears distantly from the next level down the chanting beginning, as there's a ritual that is commencing that has to do with this contraband that he doesn't even know what it is yet. He just knows what the box looks like. So Boroth hears that. Is there anything in this room? He hears the strange sound, but let's see, what's a feature of this room? That's a 1. There is a cave-in or a collapse. Interesting. Now, is it into the lower floor or is it to the top floor? Because if it's to the ground floor, then I can imagine that there's a dragonfly waiting there with a crossbow poised to try and shoot Boroth if he so happens to make it through. Okay, I'm gonna give it a 50-50 shot that it's from the upper floor or down into the lower floor, and that's why Boroth can hear the chanting so clearly. I'm gonna say 1 to 50. It is a collapse to the lower floor. That is a 69. Nice, first of all, but also not nice because that means that there is somebody poised with a crossbow. And they probably have the angle on the door. So I'm gonna say it's just a dexterity save to see who acts first in this combat, the dragonflies above or Boroth. They did let him go by pretty easily, and this is probably why they were trying to get the drop on him rather than him getting the drop on them. So let's see how Boroth does on this dex check. That's a 2. Nice. So Boroth acts first. Where's his character sheet? What are you gonna pull out, you beautiful bastard? He just has a single dagger. And so he kind of steps in to this room and sees that there's a collapse and sees immediately that there is a dragonfly there who is poised with the crossbow, and I think he's going to throw his shield up in front of him, and he's just going to try and barrel through and knock through the next door across the room and get out of range of this. And so he's just going to try and push through, but get his shield up to defend and make his way through. So I think this is a strength check to try and bust through that door before they can get a shot off, or at least hit him with a shot. So this is strength. This is his forte. He's got a 15. That is an 8. So I think that he throws up a shield just as this happens, and the first crossbow bolt dinks off the edge of it. And as they're gaming for a better angle on him, he rushes across the room and, using his shield as a battering ram along with his shoulder, crashes through this rickety door into the next chamber, out of danger, at least from that room. But let's see, what does he fall into? Is there a danger here? I'm gonna roll. I think there's a 50-50 shot of there being an immediate danger in this room. Yes, there is. That's a 15. So what is the danger that he runs into in this room? 12. Roll. Oh, what is 12? Entity. Ooh, an entity. An entity is not just a creature. An entity is, well, we'll see. This might be the ritual room. He might have accidentally just stumbled down the stairs into the lower floor ritual room. Let's see. 1. An alien interloper. Interesting. Gotta love these random table rolls. Alien interloper. To me, that's very much like an aberration. Like something Cthulhu-esque. Or maybe even a demon, but something not of this world. To be absolutely certain. You know what? I'm gonna roll again because I don't like alien interloper. That doesn't fit my kind of vibe for what I'm going for. So I'm gonna see if I can get something that I like a little bit better. 6. An oracle. Okay, that fits a little bit more. And I think that means we don't have to be in the ritual room right now. I think he crashes through, and in this next room is an oracle. But what kind of oracle? I'm gonna go to the details page and I'm going to, let's see, roll an aspect for this oracle. I'm trying to get an idea of what or who this is. Culture and charisma. Okay. So it's probably a person. That's what that says to me. Let's see. Let's roll an ability for this oracle. 12. Roll twice. Just making these all OP. Mimic / camouflage. That's interesting. And paralyze or petrify. So I think Boroth crashes through into this room, falls on the door and does a roll back to his feet, and when he looks up, he sees that there is this strange, beautiful figure. This woman who is wearing these long kind of robes that shimmer almost as if they have finely polished silver woven into the fabric, and he is transfixed by her eyes. They kind of paralyze him as he's just gotten out of danger in the next room. She locks eyes with him, almost brings him into a trance where he can't even move. He knows he should. He has his dagger at the ready, but he can't move a muscle. And I think that this oracle, to go off of that mimic or camouflage result we got, I think this oracle looks deep into his soul and then speaks in the voice of someone that he once held dear. I'm going to make an executive decision and say that Boroth had a daughter once, and whether or not she is gone now because she has been taken from this world by some tragedy, or perhaps only taken away from Boroth because he's not the type of person who makes a good father. You know, he's a smuggler of contraband in a city that is full of crime. But his daughter is no longer around. But is this paralyzing gaze and then this heart-wrenching voice of his young daughter, exactly how Boroth remembers it, that is spoken to him by this oracle. And she says, "Why have you come here, father? Why? What did you think that there was to gain? Or a fool?" And Boroth is held there in this gaze, and he is going to try and wrest his mind away, even as he sees this oracle kind of interposed with this image of his daughter, trying not to lose himself to this trance. He's going to roll not a d12, a d20, and try and get a 10 or lower. 3. Okay, he manages to shirk, to kind of thrust off this false imagery, this probing oracle's gaze into his mind, and I think that infuriates him. And so he is going to charge and attack. the Oracle kind of had their turn already. So I'm just gonna have Boroth go. He's going to roll a d6 with his dagger. I'm gonna say the Oracle doesn't have any armor. Ooh, that's a 5. The Oracle is pretty formidable though. I'm gonna give the Oracle 8 hit points. So he deals a staggering blow to this Oracle. Or really, it's hit protection, it's not hit points. So I think that he is going to basically, sorry, I got distracted. What happens is Boroth charges this Oracle and makes a big stab with the knife, and this Oracle, who is still attempting to kind of hold onto him, is forced to completely pull away, and he catches and tears through some of that dress. And I think as he rips through some of those silvery threads, that its magic is broken, and the trance effect, it's much harder to have its effect on him, especially now that he has broken its hold for the first time. Now, are the dragonflies able to safely drop down and pursue him? Because that could be a real complication. Well, I think that is unlikely. I think it's probably a pretty rough way down, and so they wouldn't be here yet. But let's see, unlikely. It's gonna be a 35 or lower. That's a 26. So yeah, I think that as this happens, he tears through his knife through the dress of this Oracle as she flees. Let me just add her and the basic stats that I decided on. HP 8, and then the current value would be 3, and then no armor. And so I think Boroth, seeing that this Oracle is unarmed, I think he's going to turn back and face the door where the dragonfly has just dropped through, wielding a sword, I imagine. And he's going to try to hold that doorway, so he only has to face one of them at a time. And because this is kind of a new combat, I'm going to have him roll a dex save to see if he can recover quickly. Nope, that's a natural 20. So he's able to get up to the door, but they're able to strike first. And with a sword, that is a D8. So they are going to try and strike out at Boroth. He has 2 armor and only 3 HP. Oh no, this is terrible. 7! Oh my gosh, that's bad. Okay. Oh, that's rough. Okay, so Boroth reduces that to 5, takes 5 damage. He now has 0 HP, and his strength goes down to 13, and he has to make a strength save to avoid taking critical damage. That is a 13 on a 13. That is exactly what he needed. Excellent. So he does not take critical damage. He is still able to continue fighting, and so it is his turn to strike out against this dragonfly. Oh, they have 2 armor too, because they're wearing chitin. So this is going to be rough for him. That's a 4. Okay, so he deals 2 damage to this dragonfly who has dropped down. And he's kind of holding them in the door, and the one up above who has the crossbow doesn't really have a clear shot. And so I think this continues to rage on. And I think that the sword swings down at him. Oh, wait. Does Brigandine only give 1 armor? Because he has a shield, too. I think Brigandine must only give 1. Because otherwise I would have more armor. Where is this? Brigandine is 1 armor, and a shield is +1 armor. Yeah, so he has 2 armor. That was correct. Unfortunate, Boroth. Unfortunate. Here comes another swing. 8! Oh man, Boroth is not doing hot. Okay. So he takes 8 more damage, drops down to 5 strength. has to roll a 5 or lower strength save to avoid critical damage. That is a 17. So Boroth is basically stabbed in the gut, and he drops and is just wheezing and panting as they found an opening in his armor and dropped him. And Boroth is just he went up against this whole thing all by himself, and I guess that's how it goes. Shows you how dangerous Cairn is. But I'm not going to end our story just there, because that would be unsatisfying. So what I'm going to say is that Boroth falls unconscious, passes out from the pain of his wound, and when he wakes up, he will still have 5 strength, but he will have his 3 HP back. But that's small comfort, especially where he's going to find himself. And we will come right back after a short break with Boroth waking up in the room where the ritual is happening. I'll see you shortly. Welcome back. Welcome. So, we are back here with Boroth coming to consciousness. And as he does so, he looks around and finds himself in truly dire straits. He is bound to a wall with manacles. He has been stripped of his armor, his weapons, his gear, and he sees it all kind of piled up in one side of the room, out of reach. He sees that he is not the only one in this position, that on the wall to either side of him, there are, let's see, 5 others who are similarly disrobed and in a compromised position of being chained to this wall. And as he looks in front of him, he sees potentially why. There have been these steps constructed, and this large funnel opens and tapers down to a small opening which is fed by kind of this rubber tube tied tightly to the demon kidney that is ready to filter blood and feed it into some kind of creature, or rather an entity, because I think that this, oh no, where did my Perilous Wilds go? Oh, here it is. Perfect. This is the alien interloper that I rolled earlier and decided to ignore. There is this strange creature that looks like a mass of gemstones and writhing flesh and just strange things that almost look like appendages and fingers and noses and hands and faces and eyes, but it's really none of those things. And if you look at it for too long, it makes your mind ache. And so Boroth finds himself looking at the figure who is standing nearby. The figure he can only assume is the Doomed Knave. And the Doomed Knave stands just kind of watching this creature as it lies there, twisted and still. Even though it seems almost to shift as you watch it, that's more a product of your own mind attempting to comprehend it than it is the creature being active. And this demon kidney, the funnel to the demon kidney, is hooked up to some kind of orifice and is prepped to funnel blood through this kidney and into this entity, whatever it might be. And the Doomed Knave laughs. The time has finally come. I will awaken the Great One. This town, this wretched town that I've corrupted the center of, shall tremble. It shall quake. And then it shall suffer the hands of this Great One that I will awaken. And the Doomed Knave is brandishing this nasty, twisted-looking knife, wickedly sharp. And he gestures to one of the people in the lineup with Boroth and says, "This one first, dear Ivenna." And a figure that Boroth did not see was lurking in the shadows is a sick-faced Ivenna, who again is being forced into servitude of the Doomed Knave against her will, but for whatever reason is compelled, must follow his orders. I wonder if Boroth can see why. I'm gonna roll a willpower save for Boroth to see if he notices something about this. I mean, obviously he can see that Ivenna is sickened, but can he tell that she's being forced to do this against her will? That's a 3. That's a success. Because even though he only has 3 hit points and his strength is down to 5, he still has a willpower of 10. What is it? What is it that is attempting... I'm just gonna go with the obvious, and I'm going to say that it is this necklace, halfway between a necklace and a collar, that is actually kind of dug into the back of Ivenna's neck. And maybe even the front too. Or maybe there's just a stone. A carved kind of... a carved obsidian shape is kind of pressed at this kind of the hollow of her neck. And it's kind of stabbed into her spine a little bit, and she has this collar on, and Boroth can see that as she tries to resist, there's this kind of malevolent energy that he doesn't necessarily see, but kind of, you know, pours off of this necklace, this collar, and he sees a little drop of blood run down the back of her neck beneath her armor, and realize that she is being forced into this. How he can use that to his advantage, I think I'm starting to get an idea. But he is forced to watch as the Doomed Knave takes the scruff of this person's neck. Ivenna drags them roughly up the stairs. They seem pretty weak, like they may have been here for a couple days. And the Doomed Knave begins to let their blood into the funnel. And he cuts deep and it pours freely as they are kind of leaned over into the funnel, and this blood begins to siphon into the kidney. And this kind of blackened, spiky organ of this demon kidney that Boroth probably doesn't even know that that's his contraband. He just, I mean, he's in way over his head. He is not a fan of this, but he's just trying to think of any way he can to get out of this situation alive. He just wanted to come down here and get his contraband back. He had no idea what he was walking into. But he sees this kind of pulse and almost come alive with this dark, strange energy that mixes and clashes with the strange energy of this still creature beneath it that it is feeding into. I would say that the energy of the demon kidney is this spiny and dark, and the energy of this entity is wavy and magenta. I don't know, bear with me here, I'm just trying to be evocative. And I think that it slowly begins to maybe just twitch a little bit towards the end of this first person being drained into it. But by that time, the Doomed Knave has already gestured to the next one, and Ivenna has unchained them, and she is strong, and she's handling herself well, you know, keeping their hands under control, but most of them are pretty weak. And I think Boroth sees this, and he decides to play pretty weak. And like he has just been beaten, that he's barely conscious. And let's roll a willpower save to see how convincing he can be. That's a 19. Not very convincing, but he is actually weak. So it's not a major failure, right? He doesn't let Ivenna he doesn't get Ivenna to kind of slip up on her guard when she comes to him. As there is more blood being poured down this funnel through the demon kidney and into this entity that is just slowly beginning to twitch and wake up. And there's this energy, this mauve, wavy energy that is almost being tainted by this black, spiky energy. And it is beginning to kind of mix and clash and just twitch just a little bit. And when it is finally Boroth's turn, as Ivenna approaches, he says, "You don't want to be doing this, do you?" She just kind of looks at him and has this hard look in her eyes, almost disgust. An expression that says, "You don't know what you're talking about," but it confirms Boroth's suspicions. And so, as she begins to drag him up, he plays kind of limp. She has his arms, and he is brought up, and the sharp knife of the Doomed Knave is moving toward his throat, and in the last-ditch effort, he is going to attempt to throw himself forward into the funnel, avoiding the blade and dragging Ivenna into it, potentially her neck either killing her or cutting this collar that she wears. And so this is a desperate strength roll that he has to roll a 5 or better on to succeed. And if he fails, this may be the end of Boroth and the end of this story. We may come back with another one, but it all comes down to this. That is a 13. He fails, and so, you know what, I'm gonna give it a roll, because he's fighting. So he fails to drag Ivenna into the way, but he is fighting, and so I'm going to make the Doomed Knave roll a d6 with his dagger to do enough damage. That's a 2. He has the HP to avoid that. And so he drags himself out of the way as the Doomed Knave tries to strike. He doesn't quite drag Ivenna into the way, and she's kind of still wrestling with him, but he's still in the fight. And so I think that he is just going to lash out and try and... well, what is he going to use as a weapon? I think he's just trying to escape. His dexterity is actually better than his strength right now because of all the damage he took. So I think he's just going to try and slip out of the way and like slip away from Ivenna and get to his supplies and use this spellbook of gate. Let's see if he can do it. I need a 7 or below. That's a 15. He is not able to slip away. Ivenna is capable. And so she keeps him there and tries to bring him back as the Doomed Knave comes in with another dagger strike. 3. Okay, so he took 2 already. That means he's at 0 hit points, and he takes 2 strength damage, bringing him to 3. 3 strength. He has to roll a strength save of 3 or lower to avoid being killed, basically. Because otherwise he will take critical damage, and basically his blood will be spilt. 5. So close. But no cigar. And so our tale ends in a failure. Just like our first one, though Boroth made it a lot further. I think we've learned something over the course of these 2 things. Our protagonist needs to make some friends, because doing it on his own is just not cutting it. We need a team to help each other out, to do better. But anyway, Boroth's life's blood is spilt into this funnel, and his corpse is tossed to the side. And then 2 more unfortunate souls are brought forth and spilt into this funnel, into the demon kidney, and into this entity. And we will end our story and end this stream with something terrible awakening beneath the town of Devil's Dinner. I'm sorry to end this on such a downer, but the rolls are the rolls. I bid you adieu, mortals. Good night.